of the Indian currency against the US dollar is far from over. The rupee managed to avoid the 80 mark today, closed at 79.91 against the US dollar. The Indian currency is teetering dangerously close to the 80 mark as global sentiments of a potential recession in the United States gain momentum. Meanwhile, the war in Europe and rising inflation also continue to hurt the Indian currency. Now, the entire conversation about rupee at 80 to the dollar has been about how it's reflection of a weak economy and of economic misgovernance. That's why it's become a political issue. We're here to break down and understand the facts about this. Is there a clear correlation? Is a strong rupee something that we should be looking forward to? Why is it always promised before elections and by opposition parties? And does consequently a weaker rupee mean a mismanaged economy? To understand this, I'm joined now by author and columnist Tamal Bandyopadhyay. Thank you so much for speaking with us on Beyond the Headlines. Tamal, great to have you on the show. Can we start by addressing the basic question? How alarmed should we be by this 80 mark? I mean, we're hovering around it. 79.91 is not that far from 80, but somehow it seems like everything will get much worse if we hit 80. Is that really the case?
No, I mean, what's the big deal about? And what's the difference between 79, 80 or 81? So I don't see a big deal about 80. I mean, it can cross 80, it can go to 81, even 82, because you have to see in the total context. No? I mean, rupee till now, if I'm not mistaken, this year has depreciated by about 7%. Yeah. But you look at every global currency except for Russian ruble has depreciated. Euro, pound sterling, yen, baht, South Korean currency, Philippines peso, most of them have been depreciated by about in double digits. So what's the big deal about rupee depreciating by 7%? And what's so big deal about why so much of noise about 80? I don't understand. I think somehow it is a political issue, and we think that, you know, in Indian context, politically, rupee stands for, you know, it's a strong currency, strong economy. It's somehow, that's the kind of perception. But it's a global phenomenon. Every country is seeing the currency being depreciated. The difference is this: if you are an export-driven country, then you tend to get benefit of it. But India is not, so we have to suffer the pain. That's it, and there are ways to tackle. We can discuss that.
No, so we'll come to ways to tackle. But you know, this is coming from no less than former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, who's talking about how after the Lehman crisis, his government ensured that the rupee was stabilized. There are reports that our forex reserves are depleting because, you know, we're selling our forex, we're selling our dollars to make sure that our rupee doesn't touch 80. There is pressure to keep up those optics, one way or the other.
Tamanna, let me give you some facts. Yes, forex reserve, we touched about 642 billion in October 21. Now it's 15-month low, 550 billion. Now this 550 billion is because not of we are selling rupee. It's largely because of devaluation of other currencies, because our entire forex kitty doesn't comprise only of dollar. I think it's a closely guarded secret. Reserve Bank of India does not reveal the various components, but I'd like to believe about 60% would be dollar and the rest 40% or little less than 40% will be other currencies. Now, when the other currencies are depreciating against dollar, so your foreign exchange reserves will go down. So it's not the weakness of rupee alone. It's the weakness of other currencies which we have in our foreign exchange basket. So that's the point which I think we need to keep that in mind. And as I said, somehow in our thing, it's rupee stands for virility, if I may say so. No, the system. It's not. I mean, we have to accept the reality that every country is facing that, and we are no exception. We are also facing that. So what's the big deal about 80?
Okay.
Let it go to 81 even.
Basic questions. Now basic questions, which you have to explain very, very simply, Tamal, for my audience this evening. Does a weak rupee or a weakening rupee underline or reflect certain inherent weaknesses in the economy. So, for example, we are an importing economy. We import a lot of crude. We are a current account deficit economy. All of that is being reflected in the rupee, isn't it?
Definitely, it will affect us because 27% of the import is crude, and the crude is playing a very critical role. It's now sub 100. That's a good story. Other commodities have also fallen. So if, as I said, if you are an export-led country, this is an advantage when the dollar appreciates, because it's more than the rupee depreciation. It's the dollar strengthening against almost every currency in the world. So if you are a net exporter, you get the benefit. If you are an importer like us, and if you are a current account deficit, then definitely you will be hurt. But we are whatever we have, it's slightly, I mean, we are better off than what was in the past. I think it can take care of 10 months of import bill, what we have at this point of time, which historically in the past crisis, we did not have this much. So it's not, and we still are probably fourth or fifth after China, Japan, Switzerland, Russia. We are the fifth largest with the largest pile of foreign exchange reserves. So I think there is no point in raising the alarm bell.
Let me link it now to governance and whether this is a reflection of competent economic management by a government. Because remember, the BJP was, attacking the UPA when the rupee was weakening. Today, those same tweets, posts, quotes are put out saying that, look what happened when you came, it became 80, etc. So is there something that a government can do to step in? And should they?
Tamanna, I'm afraid, I'm not, I would not like to be dragged into political debate, but I think it's an economic issue and you need to tackle it. Now, in the past,
so I didn't ask you a political question, Tamal. Yeah. I asked you that is there something a government can do to step in?
Yes.
And should they?
Yes. Obviously, the government, not the government, the Reserve Bank of India. Now, in the past, whenever, be it the 2008, the transatlantic crisis or global financial crisis, or 2013 when we have the problem, or even in 90s problem. Now, how did we tackle this? We raised India millennial bond and those kind of overseas bond. That's one part of the story. Second, we raised FCNRB funds. We also got into the forex swaps at a higher cost with the banks which raised, etc., etc. So these are the things that have happened in the past. And the other part is that, and which is the likely weapon that we have, is raising interest rate, because the interest rate differential, if you see in this week only, there are 3 countries, Singapore, Philippines, and Bank of Canada. Very quickly they raised rates over the past 48 hours. And you are all expecting by the end of this month, US Fed again will go for a rate hike, 75 bips. Some people even talking about 1 full percentage point.
Right.
And it will be followed by another 75 basis point in September. So we need to catch up with them. They are front loading the hikes, and if we lag behind, if we don't raise the hike, if there is interest rate differential, there is no incentive to foreign currency to come to India. Yeah. So that's the only way to tackle it. We have no escape but to raise the rate. So
impact on you, interest rates will go up. If you're planning to study abroad, it's going to cost you more. If you want to travel abroad, it's going to cost you more. If you want to use anything imported, it's going to cost you more. So those are some of the immediate impact that we need to see. But it's not so much of a political issue as it's being made out to be. And that's an important takeaway. To quote Tamal, we tend to see the rupee as a sign of virility of the Indian economy. And that's just not what the case is. Thank you so much, Tamal, for joining us this evening and breaking that very important story down.